So, good morning everyone. Today I will be discussing the topics under midterm examination. Okay, again, this is our virtual classroom etiquette. Then let's start with illegal recruitment. So, our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to define illegal recruitment, acquire knowledge skills on legal responsibilities in illegal recruitment, and acquire the important provision in Republic Act 8042 or the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipino Act of 1995. Next is, what is illegal recruitment? So, based on your opinion, kahit nakikinig lang kayo ng audio or nanonood kayo ng video presentation, think of an opinion, what do you mean by illegal recruitment? So, illegal recruitment is one of the most detestable crimes a person can commit to another person. It debases an individual. The victims, including their kin, suffer in the consequent loss of face and properties and possible ostracism in the community. Ostracism means it is the temporary banishment without trial, or you are forcing to leave the country as your punishment. So, illegal recruitment, it is a crime that has brought about misery to thousands of innocent victims and their families, since it is not only the applicant who are being affected but also their families. Illegal recruitment also includes acts of canvassing, enlisting, contracting, transporting, utilizing, hiring, procuring workers, and includes referring contract services, promising or advertising for employment abroad, whether for profit or not. So, in illegal recruitment, kapag na-canvas ka nila or na-recruit ka nila, pagbabayaran ka nila without official receipt, or kung magbigay man sila is fake lang po lahat ng ibibigay nila. Next, every year, hundreds of victims suffer financially and emotionally. So while the perpetrator enjoys the loot of their crimes, while others are suffering, yung iba naman or yung mga nag-recruit sa inyo ay nag-e-enjoy sa mga nakuha nilang pera sa inyo. Next, illegal recruitment has been here since the phenomenon of deploying overseas workers had taken place in the country. So, illegal recruitment can be considered as mala inse and mala prohibita. And illegal recruiters are considered as masters of the art of fraud and cheating, because they are the one who roll the minds of the applicants just to make sure they have profit even though it is in the illegal ways. So, mala inse, plural term po natin is malum inse, are the criminal acts that are wrong because they violate moral, public, or natural principles of society. In short, they are the heinous crimes. What are the examples of heinous crimes? So, kung natatandaan nyo sa pinag-aralan nyo during your criminal law, ano-ano ba yung mga example ng heinous crimes natin? Those are murder, rape, robbery, and others, as long as it is wrongful in nature. And it is considered as mala inse since it violates the moral of a person and principles of the society. So on the other hand, mala prohibita are criminal acts that are wrong because they violate a statute or law rather than being an action that harms or offends society. Most of the time, mala prohibita are less severe than mala inse crimes. And this illegal recruitment investigation also considered as mala inse because it violates statute or law under 8042, or what we call the Migrant Filipinos Workers Act of 1995, or the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995. Next, illegal recruiter are persons without license or who are not registered employees of licensed agencies. They claim to be recruiting under the direct hire system. So often, illegal recruiters are fixers claiming that they can facilitate processing. They provide their victims with fake documents and arrange for them to illegally immigrate. Some are being blinded by their advertisement, such as they will provide illegal training as a promise of easily promotion of foreign jobs that other person will eventually grab because of their needs. So there are other forms of illegal recruitment. First is escort services. Those are the tourists or workers escorted at the country's airport and seaport. Since kapag illegal recruitment, lahat ng gagawin nila, kailangan i-approach ka talagang maigi. Very approachable sila since may makukuha silang pera sa inyo. Next, by correspondence. Applicants are encouraged by the recruiter to comply with employment requirements and placement through mail. And yun yung way nila para magkaroon kayo ng communication. Next is blind ads. Fraudulent and misleading advertisement promising facility of employment wherein if the applicants attracts to their advertisement, the outcome is that they will leave them and let them do some ways to have a facility of employment. Next, au pair. An intercultural program wherein a host family sponsors a person to study language and culture for monthly allowance in exchange for home to stay since they have no enough money to live their life in the country where he or she works. They will force to study their language and culture for them to have money and for the benefits of their family, especially in terms of financial. So sa offer, kailangan po natin kailangan nilang mag-study ng kung anong language nila and culture nila as an income for them para mabigyan nila ng benefits yung family nila o para makapagpadala sila ng pera sa family nila. Kasi dahil nga illegal recruitment, pagpunta nila doon, pinapangakuan sila na may facility na silang matitirahan for employment, but then sila pa din ang gagawa ng ways para makahanap sila ng income at para makahanap sila ng titirhan. Next, backdoor exit. Going out of the country through some airports and seaports in the southern part of the Philippines. Next, trainees scheme. These trainee scheme are for those students who have OJT or on-the-job training outside the country like HRM or Hotel and Restaurant Management. They are expecting that they will conduct their OJT at the hotels abroad but eventually landing jobs in the training establishment only. And lastly is the camouflage participation in foreign seminars and sports events. So, camouflage participation in foreign seminars, sports events, once the foreigners conduct seminars and sports events, the workers or the recruited persons will live as participants in seminars or sports event. But eventually, find jobs in the host country, and that's their way to easily get job on the place where they promise to work with. And that's all for other forms of illegal recruitment. Next is the syndicated illegal recruitment. Illegal recruitment is deemed committed by a syndicate when it is carried out by a group of 3 or more persons conspiring or confederating with one another. So, it is deemed committed in a large scale. So, if committed against 3 persons individually or as a group, illegal recruitment when committed by a syndicate or in a large scale shall be considered as offense involving economic sabotage. The persons criminally liable for illegal recruitment are the principals, accomplices, and accessories. So, in case of judicial persons, the officers having control, management, or direction of their business shall be held liable. And kapag sinabi nating syndicated illegal recruitment, kapag ito ay ginawa ng 3 or more than persons, or as a group of person in a large scale, makakapag-produce po sila ng what we call economic sabotage. Next, penalties. Any person found guilty of illegal recruitment shall suffer the penalty of imprisonment of not less than 6 years and 1 day, but not more than 12 years, and a fine not less than 200,000 pesos, nor more than 500,000 pesos. Next, another penalty is that the penalty of life imprisonment and a fine of not less than 500,000 pesos nor more than 1 million pesos shall be imposed of illegal recruitment constitutes economic sabotage. So again, when we say economic sabotage, when it is committed by a syndicate or is committed in a large scale of person. Next is the Republic Act 8042, or what we call the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995. So migrant workers refers to a person who is to be engaged or is engaged or has been engaged in a remunerated activity in a state of which he or she is not a legal resident, to be used interchangeably with overseas Filipino workers. So migrant workers, those are the person who works abroad that can return here in the Philippines because they have contract and they are not the one who are resident of the place where they are working. Next is gender sensitivity. It shall mean cognizance of the inequalities and inequities prevalent in society between women and men, and a commitment to address issues with concern for the respective interests of the sexes. So gender sensitivity, the first and foremost important aspect of gender sensitivity is to be open to the perspective and feelings of any colleague of the opposite gender. So since there is what we call inequality between men and women, this could be a simple case of knowing enough about their personal issues to more nuance, or yung what we call the variation of understanding of gender-specific aspects such as comments or jokes that could be offensive. Because there are jokes and humors that can be offensive for female but not for male, and vice versa. Although there is an increasing awareness about this topic and organizations have started to define the limits of behavior, increasingly, men and women have started working together in managerial roles, and unless there is a mutual sense of respect and comfort, teams will not be effective. So sa gender sensitivity, kung dati magkaiba or nagiging offensive minsan ang joke ng female para sa male or yung joke ng male para sa female, ngayon unti-unti na silang nagiging modernized kasi yung mga gawain ng lalaki ay pwede na rin gawin ng mga babae and vice versa. Next, overseas Filipinos refers to descendants of migrant workers and other Filipino nationals abroad who are in distress as mentioned in sections 24 and 26 of this act, or section 24 and 26 of Republic Act 8042. So according to section 24 of this act, migrant workers should have legal assistant, created this position under the Department of Foreign Affairs, who shall be primarily responsible for the provision of overall coordination of all legal assistance services to be provided to Filipino migrant workers, as well as overseas Filipinos in distress, or yung mga Filipino in distress are overseas Filipinos who suffers from pain and unhappiness. He shall have the rank, salary, and privileges equal to that of an undersecretary of said department. So the said legal assistant for migrant workers' affairs shall be appointed by the President and must be of proven competence in the field of law with at least 10 years of experience as a legal practitioner and must not have been candidate to an elective office in the last local or national elections. So bakit ba kailangan competent siya in the field of law for 10 years? Kasi po, ire-represent niya ang Filipinos on the other country. Siya po yung magsisilbing lawyer or legal assistance or yung mag-a-assist sa mga Filipinos o overseas Filipinos, especially in distress, para po makauwi sila at maproteksyonan ang rights ng mga Filipinos. So while in Section 26 are the uses of legal assistance fund that provide legal services to migrant workers and overseas Filipinos in distress in accordance with guidelines, criteria, and procedure. So the expenditures to be charged against the fund shall include the fees for the foreign lawyers to be hired by the legal assistant for migrant workers affairs to represent migrant workers facing charges abroad, bail bonds to secure the temporary release of workers under detention, court fees and charges, and other litigation expenses. So kung sa 24 kailangan ng legal assistance, sa 26 naman ay ang mga funds or yung legal assistance fund na ibibigay mo sa mga Filipino workers or sa migrant workers, especially those overseas Filipinos in distress as part of their expenditures na maibibigay or fund nila and fees nila para sa mga makukuhang another lawyer and para sa mga iba pa nilang pangangailangan. Distress, what we call unhappiness or pain, or again, the overseas Filipinos who suffer from pain and unhappiness. Next, deployment of migrant workers. The state shall deploy overseas Filipino workers only in countries where the rights of the Filipino migrant workers are protected. So, under Section 4 of this Act, of course, Filipino workers will not go to other countries if the protecting rights of migrant workers is not existing under the Labor Code or the PD 442 or the Presidential Decree 442 and social laws. So, yung Section 4 na sinasabi ko of this Act is the deployment of migrant workers. So, there should be an agreement or arrangement with the government protecting the rights of overseas Filipino workers. So, there comes a time that there will be a termination and ban of deployment. If the country where the workers go doesn't have the protection rights for the migrant workers and overseas Filipino workers. So, nagkakaroon ng termination and ban of deployment kung alam natin na sa country na pupuntahan is walang rights or hindi mabibigyan ng protection of rights ang mga overseas Filipino workers or the migrant workers natin. Next, venue. A criminal action arising from illegal recruitment as defined herein shall be filed with the regional trial court of the province or city where the offense was committed or where the offended party actually resides at the same time of the commission of the offense. So, sa venue, the court where the criminal action is first filed shall acquire jurisdiction to the exclusion of other courts. However, the forestated provision shall also be applied to those actions that have already filed in the court at the time of the effectivity of this act. So, sa venue, where you filed a complaint or where the court you filed the complaint, doon din po magkakaroon ng hearing or pwede pong magkakaroon ng hearing as well as doon din po kailangang ayusin ang mga complaint ng mga tao. While kung sa court na pinag-complainant nyo is before the effectivity of this act, hindi na po siya kasama or hindi na po siya applicable. But upon effectivity of this act, kung saan kayo nag-complain na court, doon lang din po ipaprocess or magkakaroon ng procedure ang complaint nyo or yung kaso nyo. Next, money claims. The labor arbiters of the National Labor Relations Commission or yung NLRC shall have the regional and exclusive jurisdiction to hear and decide within 90 calendar days after filing the complaint. So, according to Section 10, that is the money claims, the claims arising out of an employer-employee relationship or by virtue of any law or contract involving Filipino workers for overseas deployment, including claims for actual, moral, exemplary, and other forms of damages. Therefore, it is the liability of the principal or employer and the recruitment or placement agency for the migrant workers and overseas Filipino in distress to include claim for actual, moral, exemplary, and other forms of damages. And yun yung mga claims na makukuha ng mga taong naapektuhan ng illegal recruitment. Next, Republic Act 8239, the Philippine Passport Act of 1996. What do you mean by passport? It means a document issued by the Philippine government to its citizens and requesting other governments to allow its citizens to pass safely and freely, and in case of need to give him or her all lawful aid and protection. So passport, it allows the citizens to pass from one country to another, or from our country to other country with protection. The validity of passport is 10 years, so take note of that. So the department in which an individual assists their passport means the Department of Foreign Affairs. So lahat po ng transaction about passport ay dun po yan sa Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA. Next, travel document means a certification or identifying document containing the description and other personal circumstances of its bearer, issued for direct travel to and from the Philippines, valid for short periods or a particular trip. So, it is issued only to person where claim to the Philippine citizenship is doubtful, or who fall under the category enumerated in Section 13 of this Act. So what do you mean by Section 13 of this Act, or the Act of 8239, or the Philippine Passport Act? So, Section 13 of this Act talks about travel documents. It is only issued to Filipino citizens returning to the Philippines who for one reason or another has lost his or her passport or cannot be issued a regular passport, or a Filipino citizen who sent back to the Philippines. Another is if there is an alien spouse and their dependents are not being naturalized and is a permanent resident of the Philippines, and those aliens who permanently residing here in the Philippines and not able to obtain foreign passport and other documents. Those are the person who needs travel document. Once na nawala mo si passport mo, or once nawala mo si passport and hindi ka na-issuehan ng regular passport, kasi possible na hindi ka mai-issuehan ng regular passport kapag hindi po available yung pagkakaroon ng regular passport at kailangan mo ng umalis. I-issuehan ka ng travel document. Next is types of passport. Meron po tayong tinatawag na diplomatic passport, official passport, and regular passport. So when we say diplomatic passport, it is a passport for the person who are imbued with diplomatic status or are in diplomatic mission such as President, Vice President, Senate President, Chief Justice of Supreme Court, tandaan po lahat ng mga sinasabi ko, Cabinet Secretaries and other Secretaries of DFA, like Ambassadors, Members of Congress, Governor of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and spouses and married minor children of all officials mentioned when accompanying or following to join them in an official mission abroad. And for official passport, it is issued to all government officials and employees on official trip abroad but who are not on diplomatic mission or delegates to international or regional conferences or have not been accorded diplomatic status. And sino-sino ba sila? Such as undersecretaries and assistant secretaries other than the DFA, staff officers and employees of DFA, persons in domestic service and spouses, and unmarried minor children of the official I've mentioned when accompanying or following to join them. Next is the regular passport. So, si diplomatic for the executive part po natin or executive individuals natin, yung mga matataas na po yan, President, Vice President, Senate President, was the official passport. Those are the undersecretaries, secretaries, mga staff officers natin. Was the regular passport, it is issued to Filipino citizens who are not eligible or entitled to diplomatic or official passports, including government officials or employees going abroad for pleasure or other personal reasons. So, government officials and employees and members of the families may, during the incumbency or yung the time during which a person holds a particular office or position in office, hold two passports simultaneously. Ano ba yung dalawang passport na yon? First, regular passport for private travel. And another is diplomatic or official passport when traveling abroad on diplomatic or official business. Yun lang po ang dahilan kung bakit magkakaroon tayo ng two regular passport o kailan magkakaroon ng dalawang passport kapag kailangan po sa office or position or nagkakaroon ng urgency meeting and nagkakaroon po ng time kung kailan yung isang tao ay may hawak na particular office or position. Ito na po yung madaming functions ang isang tao. Madami po siyang ginagawa. Kaya kailangan po makahold siya ng dalawang passport para po magawa nila or ma-execute nila ng maayos ang trabaho nila. The wife and minor children of persons entitled to a diplomatic or official passport shall be issued regular passports if they are not accompanying or following to join them. So next, offenses and penalties. So offenses relating to issuances, penalties. Yan po ang kaunahan natin. So when they issues, grants, verify passport or documents without lawful authority shall be punished by a fine of not less than 15,000 pesos nor more than 60,000 pesos and imprisonment of not less than 18 months nor more than 6 years. Another is offenses relating to false statements. Those are the person or any person who willingly and knowingly makes false statement in any application for passport with the intent to induce or secure the issuance of a passport under the authority of the Philippine government, either for his own use or the use of another, that is contrary to this act or rules and regulations. So it shall be punished by a fine of not less than 15,000 or nor more than 60,000 pesos and imprisonment of not less than 3 years nor more than 10 years. Next is offenses relating to improper use. So anyone who counterfeits, forges, mutilates, or alter passport or travel documents or any supporting document for passport application with the intent to gain for his own use or use of other person shall be punished of a fine of not less than 60,000 pesos nor more than 150,000 pesos and imprisonment of not less than 6 years nor more than 15 years. Next, offenses relating to multiple possession penalties. So, any individual who possesses more than one unexpired passport shall for every unexpired passport found in the possession shall be punished of a fine of not less than 15,000 pesos nor more than 60,000 pesos and imprisonment of not less than 18 months nor more than 6 years. So, that is all for offenses and penalties. Again, si letter A natin, kapag po offenses relating to issuances, those are the person who issues or grants or verify passport or documents without lawful authority. Kapag po nag-i-issue sila, nag-verify or nag-grant ng passport without authority. While si letter B natin or the offenses relating to false statements, those person who willfully and knowingly makes false statement in any application for passport with the intent to induce or secure the issuance of passport under the authority of the Philippine government, either for his own use or the use of another that is contrary to this act or rules and regulation. Next, offenses relating to improper use. So, any person who willfully and knowingly uses or attempt to use any passport or supporting documents in violation of the condition or restrictions prescribed by the law. And lastly, offenses relating to multiple possession. Yun po yung who possesses more than one unexpired passport. For every unexpired passport found in the possession shall be punished of a fine of not less than 15,000 pesos nor more than 60,000 pesos and imprisonment of not less than 18 months nor more than 6 years. So, take note of that po lahat po ng mga offenses and penalties natin. So, that's all for the first week natin ng midterm examination or yung topics under midterm examination. And that's all. Thank you and God bless.